Good afternoon, everybody. This is my podcast, Marvin's Room, and today I have a special guest, Mr. Steele. What do I call you now?
Mr. Steele is fine. I like that.
Mr. Steele.
Mr. Steele, that'll work.
How you been doing?
Been doing pretty well, man. Pretty well. Just living and surviving during this Rona virus or whatnot.
hmm
A lot of my work has been virtual anyway. So,
Oh,
teaching at the college and teaching some of the younger students that I teach, it's all been virtual anyway. So, for the most part, it hasn't really been much of an adjustment for me, actually. So, it's almost like fate put me where I was starting to use this medium all of the time. So, I actually teach my college kids directly off of Zoom.
okay. Because
Yeah.
that was one of the questions I had for you. Because if a lot of people don't know, Mr. Steele was my principal at Urban Prep.
Yep.
How has life been after you left Urban Prep?
I mean, it's been good. It's been good. I mean, I wanted to transition after that to business ownership and entrepreneurship.
hmm
And so, what that's allowed me to do to have a lot more time. And, I'm in the process, just got off the phone right now in purchasing a new space for my business. And
hmm
so, that's been a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, a lot of time. And so with me teaching now, as opposed to having the responsibility of an entire building. That's a business in and of itself. So a
hmm
lot of people don't necessarily understand that in order to be a principal, you got a whole lot of different moving parts. You got to worry about the lights being on. You got to worry about movement of people. You managing levels of operation from behavior to diverse learning. That's a lot of work. So now I have to manage and still being able to teach and educate young people, which is one of my primary goals.
hmm Um, how have you been doing this time during the COVID-19?
Man, I've been working hard. Actually, this weekend in particular, we hit up to 70 something. So for the last 3 days, I've been doing a lot of construction work. Rented a bobcat and one of them dumpsters and been busting up concrete in the backyard and getting
hmm
ready to start me a garden because you got to grow your own food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that vegan lifestyle has been doing me righteously. And so I'm going to make sure that, my wife and we're going to make sure that we got our own food in the backyard moving forward.
Another question I have for you: how do you feel doing the Chicago, like all the nonsense that happened in Chicago this weekend?
That's the funny thing. My daughters was actually telling me a lot about what was going on. Like I knew right when they said it was going to get 70 degrees, I knew that it was getting ready to go crazy a little bit around here. But my daughter, one of them is in Virginia and the other one is in Miami, and they was like, "Daddy, what's going on out here?" We got people riding horses up and down the block, and
Yeah.
folks trying to throw parties all over the place. It's really somebody made an excellent point though the other day. They said how why do you think that these young people are going to be afraid of a virus that ain't necessarily hitting them immediately when many of them are afraid of a gun, right? And
hmm
so, when they was talking about what people walk through on a daily basis, where you remember when you all was in school,
Yeah.
you couldn't ride certain buses at certain times of day, couldn't go through this neighborhood or that neighborhood. Some people wouldn't go to school at all just because the threat of death, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So the threat of death from violence, if that's not stopping your movement and motion, the death from a virus, it just doesn't seem big to them. And I mean, I get it. I mean, I get the disconnect, but the thing that I worry about the most is that it may not bother Marvin, and if y'all at a house party and y'all kicking it and whatnot, y'all immune systems are pretty strong right now. Y'all young, and y'all health crisis hasn't really hit you yet. But
hmm
then when you start thinking about when you go home to see grandma, or you go home and see your uncle who have high blood pressure, who not eating right, who, got these kind of conditions going on, you putting them at risk. So, once they start to see if that starts to impact families, because I know a lot of people who actually are older who got the virus, and, we're losing friends and colleagues. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Those deaths that you hear are 40-something and 50-year-old, particularly a lot of Black men. You're hearing a lot of males that are dying from that. So It's real. It just hasn't hit home yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's all. When it hit home, they're going to get it.
All right. Another topic I know today is May the 4th be with you.
Look.
May the 4th be with you.
You know what it is.
Another topic that I wanted to speak on, because I know that you're into music or not. Recently,
Mm-hmm.
like 2 weeks or last week ago, they announced that Kanye became the first he became a billionaire. How do you feel on that?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's cool. I know that people were like trying to make the comparison between him and Jay-Z, and it was like, oh, you know what? Now he caught up to Big Brother. This is what the game is all about. He's a billionaire now, and I mean, obviously his enterprising with those gym shoes is huge, and the fact that he has ownership of that he was able to work out a deal where he's able to come and, manifest a lot of gain from it and ownership, creative control. I mean, you can't knock that. I mean, just like they say, you can't knock I won't knock that. Am I like, that makes him a god or a genius? I don't use that terminology with Kanye. I think that he's a great businessman in that regard. I mean, but you also got to think about who he's connected with. That whole Kardashian family as well, that's a business in and of itself. Mm-hmm. They know how to market themselves really great. And I mean, so I put some of that on it. When they make the comparison with Jay-Z, obviously it's a generational thing, but I think that I actually was not that great of a fan of Jay-Z's when he first came out. I was always more into the conscious hip hop move. Yeah. And so when he was coming out, with the champagne and the parties and a little bit of the G in them and all of that, I wasn't necessarily feeling him. But when I started hearing him tell his story and he started prophesizing about his story, I started getting a whole different level of respect for him. And so when you look at his maturity and growth through the years, he's done nothing but elevate. And a lot of that stuff started to translate into not only him taking ownership, because that's what I'm proud of Kanye for on that, is that when we start owning and operating our own businesses and controlling our own destiny, and then you use that to help other people and build our community up, and that's the kind of philanthropy that I'm seeing with Jay-Z and Beyonce. They're actually doing a lot to help the community as well. And I'm with that. I mean, he got a lot of flack for the partnership with the NFL last year. And that was a big conversation where they was like, he's selling out, he's selling out. It's like, no, y'all not looking at the full mechanics of that operation, because he still was doing advocacy and holding, the NFL to commit to some extra work within these particular communities. I know that a lot of them started giving flack about the businesses that he chose in Chicago, because I think one of them was white-owned, and they didn't like the lady who was in ownership of that. But, that was a business that one of our former students, Mr. Fields, right? That's the boxing arena that he used to go to keep himself safe and secure and off the street. So there was a personal connection about what that program actually did to benefit inner city youth. So, we gotta be mindful of how we're critiquing and analyzing the work that people are doing. And I think that when people are putting in any work, it may not be perfect, but if it's for the benefit and the greater good of folks in our community, and that's where their heart is at with it, and it's not just for self, when it's for the greater good of the community, I'm not going to knock it, because at least I see somebody trying.
Another question I have for you. Top 5 artists of all time.
Oh, wow. So, okay, I'm gonna give you my top 5. We had this conversation the other day, and we had it on comedians, and I didn't put Richard Pryor up in my top 5, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, why you ain't put Richard Pryor in there?" I know what Richard Pryor did. You know what I mean? I know who he influenced, but Richard Pryor is not somebody I'm gonna go and listen to all the time. And so it's the same thing when it comes to hip hop. We could go and talk about KRS-One all day, but I'm not constantly listening to KRS-One. That's not the person who's gonna move me all day. So my number 1 is always gonna be Rakim, the God Allah, right? Rakim, from Eric B. and Rakim, because of his rap style and the content that he was delivering, he always gonna be number 1. And his influence is on that level to me of a Richard Pryor when you start to talk about the different rap flows thereafter. And after I put him on the list, it's got to be Mos Def, right? Because Mos Def is like a direct student to me. Even on this first album, he pays homage to Rakim, where he says, "I start to think and then I sink into the paper like I was ink." Boom. That's cold. You know what I mean? That's like mind blowing, but that's Mos Def, so he goes on that list. Then I'm a real big fan of De La Soul. So Pasta News plug, one of a kind. That dude, he's one of those guys that get underrated because he's with a group. And so nobody ever really listened to him as a solo artist to be able to kind of pay attention and follow his life. They see him as a group. But if you just listen to De La Soul and listen to his verses, Pasta News, he's on that list. Then I got to give it to Black Thought, right? And that's Black Thought from the Roots. He another person that didn't get all the juice that he was supposed to because he was with a major group. Now, after that, I would go and throw Jay-Z up in there. You know what I mean? I would throw him for number 5, but I'm gonna be biased. I would throw Jay-Z there for number 5 because that's how much I respect him, and I respect his flow, and he cold. Versatile with it, content-wise with it. And then when I listen to 444 and again, Growth and Maturity, that album stayed in my ear. Legacy, Black Excellence. Man, me being on this business thing now, all I'm thinking about is the future of my kids. And when I hear that man speaking in words, I'm like, yo, this is what it's all about. If we all thought like this, and then even when he, still nigga, that cut. I'm like, man, this dude's going. And so I would put him there, but he's going to be my honorable mention. I got to give it to the home team and drop Common on there. And the reason why I'm going to drop Common for the home team is, number 1, he is like one of the coldest street poets that has ever been. The Corner is probably the most deadliest cut that he ever made. And me being from Chicago and me being, I ain't going to say a former, I'm just going to say I don't do it as much as I used to, but I'm a hip hop producer. And, my main 15 minutes came because I produced a cut for him. I actually got a chance to work in the studio with him, and I watched this man spit for like 2 hours straight, like freestyle for like 2 hours straight. And, the whole game in that was, after he spat for 2 hours straight, he was like, whatever y'all want from what I just did, go ahead on, use it and do what you're going to do with it. And so, from there, I'd actually produced a cut for him, and it made The Source, and it made The Vibe, and it made allhiphop.com, and it made Fake Short Drive. Go Google it and see what your principal used to do back up in the day. You dig what I'm saying? So, I got to give it up to Common. So that's my 5. Rakim, Mos Def, Black Thought, Common. Who else did I miss? Somebody? Pasta News plug, one of a kind. Honorary Jay-Z.
You kind of surprised me with that. A lot of people throw in the Tupacs, the Biggies, Jay-Z. A lot of these young people even throw Wayne up in the top 5.
I mean, if I had to do a top 10, then I throw Lil Wayne up in there. I would definitely throw Kendrick Lamar up in there in my top 10 now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kendrick Lamar is phenomenal in that he was able to kind of unite this whole East Coast, West Coast thing, because you got somebody out here from California that got a deadly East Coast kind of flow with it. And you also got him coming out, some few years back, but he uniting hip hop from the 90s and 80s all the way to 2020. So, in a 30-year gap, you got one artist that's capable of pleasing multi-generations in hip hop at one time. Now, Tupac, I always get into people with Tupac. And I think I get into it with Tupac because on one hand, his intelligence and his mind and some of his earlier rhymes are just, on a phenomenal level as far as social content and all of that, while at the same time being something that we rock to. I mean, we was 20, 19, whatever else years old, listening to Tupac, like, yeah, this dude's all right, we like this. But then, he took on this whole persona that completely compromised this Black Panther progressive model that he was speaking. Now, I got people who will argue me all day, but that duplicitous, ness that he had, it just didn't work for me. It's like you ain't got to be one way, and you could show some evolution and growth, but, he started to get kind of silly with it. You know what I mean? He almost, from a personality standpoint, he was almost kind of Kanye-ish in the sense where they were more focused on seeking attention and delivering the art, and I think that if you're an artist, be that. You know what I mean? Let your work speak for you. Let your work speak for you. I don't need all the shenanigans.
What's some of the newer artists that you listen to today?
Man, the new ones that I listen to today, okay, again, I'm always going, I was just talking actually to a former graduate from Urban Prep 2010. He lived up the street from me. Him and his son was walking down the block. He like 28 years old. He rapped. And we were talking about that. And I told him, one, I love the evolution of G Herbo, right? Like I listened to this last album and I was like, oh, okay. I like what he did right there. I see where he came from. I heard his earlier stuff. I heard the stuff y'all was rocking with before. And then as his star has started to shine even brighter, now he's being introspective and he's telling the same story, but he's telling it with some wisdom to it now. And so, I dig that growth in him. So that's dope. And, I used to play y'all a few of his cuts in Community, like the stuff he did with Common and Chance and all of that. So I like his work. I love Joey Badass from Brooklyn. I mean, he reminds me of the days of old. So Joey Badass is one of the favorite ones that I like to listen to, and I go through his library. Lil Bibby is somebody who I expected, and he still got a chance to, I expected to hear him soar. I thought that, if I had to make a prediction, I would have predicted that he would have been the one that kind of had the most potential on the star power of the rhyme. You know what I mean? Because, he got the voice for it. He got the delivery. I forget that one cut he had made. Oh, you can't hang.
You can't hang?
You can't hang. Right. I mean, that was a cut. I mean, that was a cut. I like it. And, again, I want to see him do more. I want to see him put himself in the forefront now and, take the game a lot more serious and put it to that next level. Because I think he could, what I was talking about to this young man, you got to understand the game. It's like when you get a girlfriend, right? Y'all get girlfriends now. And when you're young and you're getting a girlfriend, you're usually trying to show your guys, like, look what I got. You know what I mean? Look, I could pull. Look, I got girls. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. But then when you do it for yourself, it get deeper, right? You start being into the girl. You start loving the girl, and you start to evolve to be able to have a longer lasting relationship, right? I think the same thing goes for hip hop. On one hand, when you first rhyming and stuff, you rhyming for your boys. you ain't really thinking about the game. You're not really thinking about long-term life. Like I'm telling you, Jay-Z, that dude got 30 years in the game now, right?
Mm-hmm.
30 years plus in the game. Do you want to be that dude that I always tell y'all about that's only going to have 3 years in the game and be out? I mean, there's so many guys I could tell you that had like 3 years in hip hop and they were done because they kind of came off of a gimmick. And the gimmick is old. The gimmick is like a blaxploitation flick. Hey, let me go put some cars in it. Let me go put some money in it. Let me go put some bang bang up in it. Let me go put that up in it. And then that's an album. Yeah, you know what? Those are all of the elements that's going to get you that first line of attention, right? But then after that, it's like, what do you got? What else you got? What's going to make me feel, young Marvin on the microphone? What are you talking about? Oh, man. Oh, he said he went to the carnival the other day. Let me hear about that. You know what I mean? I want to hear that story because now he's showing a different level. Or, he's talking about that time his father, his father wouldn't let him go outside or something when he was a shorty and he missed an opportunity to kick it here. Tell me that story. I want to hear that. He don't like his, this Joe Blow don't like his stepdad. Let me hear that. Why you don't like his stepdad? We had songs like that. Like one of the top cuts we had was Troy. They Reminisce Over You by Pete Rock and CL Smooth. Mm-hmm. And the whole video was paying homage to one of Heavy D's dancers that had actually died. His name was T-Roy, right? But they made a song in honor of him, just kind of talking about life and growing up and the father. And so, this dude had a whole song talking about his stepdad and how he grew up with him and what he meant to him. And, of course he passed and then he said, they reminisce over you, my God. Man, we love that cut. I mean, because, everybody could relate to it. So you got to tell stories like you making a movie where you want people to be able to say, dang, I feel you. Man, I'm with you right there. Man, that resonates with me. That's why people like Tupac so much. See, he didn't resonate with me, but he resonated with a lot of people. They felt him. Even when he had his other persona, that resonated with a lot of people. And I respect that because, they related to him and he could tell the story with passion. And he meant what he was saying. And I think that was some of the early appeal for Kanye when he first came out, because he came out in an era where, you either had to be on some Southern crunk type stuff, or you was, bottles and parties and chicks and, dope slinger type of vibe, right? But then there was no room for the cat who was in college, like you.
Yeah.
He still wanted to kick it and have fun, but, he wasn't so much. He liked girls just like the other cats like girls, but, he was in college. And so he made College Dropout, and who did he grab? Who did he grab for that album?
I don't remember Kanye's latest album. I don't pay
attention. I'm talking about his first one. Who did he grab on that album?
You talking about the one with the teddy bear on the head?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the one with Jay?
He had Jay on there. He had Common on there. He had Mos Def on there. He had Talib Kweli on there. And he had Freeway on there. Mm-hmm. And so he made sure that he put in all of the cats. He got his street cred, but he had all of the conscious dudes on there too. And so that kind of set him apart from a whole lot of other albums that you was getting, because it's like, wait a minute, we got Common and Jay on the same album? And Jay, what Jay say? Truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense. But since I made $1 million, I ain't rhyming like common sense, right? So that was the thing. Like, did you hear the last Jay Electronica album?
Can you say it again?
Did you hear that last Jay Electronica album?
Nah, I didn't. I gotta listen to that one.
Okay, you gotta listen to it because Jay-Z comes on that album and he rhyming like Common. You know what I mean? He on some heavy hitting, ultra spiritual, super fantastic rhyme schemes, and he still sound like Jay. So it's a good piece.
When do you think is it time for the older rappers to start paying like homage to the younger rappers and like stop hating on their style?
You know, it's funny when you see them pay homage to them, because when they pay homage to them, sometimes they don't really mean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They saying it just because they want to encourage and not be looked at as a has-been in some regards. But I think that what you see sometimes is it's a mentorship process, right? Because it's an elder mentorship process. Like, you know, I could be the old man and sit back and just say I hate all of it, right? Because I mean, you know, I'm not tuned in to a lot of it. Like, you know, let's say the stuff that's more emo, right? You know, it's talking about I'm suicidal and I'm depressed and I'm getting ready to pop some pills or do all of that. I mean, I hear that theme come up, right? And I can't relate to that. You know what I'm saying? And that ain't where a lot of us came up. We weren't. I'm not saying that we weren't going through anything where there was no depression, but if you look at what we had on TV and where the mentality of hip hop was, we was like, fight the power. Oh yeah, we could do anything. You know, I'm Superman. I'm Black Power. I could be a millionaire. We weren't sad about nothing. I mean, look at what Puffy and Jay-Z and them was doing. They was becoming millionaires.
Yeah.
And that's what they were saying was going to happen. So they was trying to ball. Everybody was trying to ball, grow, and all of this other kind of thing. We weren't, you know, yeah, it was alcoholism going on. Yeah, there was some chronic going on. You know what I mean? But as far as the drug abuse, we saw crack. You understand what I'm saying? We saw crack, and we saw what it did to the community. We saw all the people getting incarcerated in the 90s over that. So, you know, cats was looking for a way out of that. You know what I mean? They was looking for a way out of that. And the only way we saw to get out of that was to blow up in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? That was it. So that was like the escape clause from that. But then you had other regions, you know, like I know you watch some of these hip hop documentaries, there were some other regions that stayed into it.
Yeah.
You know, but you saw that the game is really a lot different too. You know, like one of the biggest dynamics that I focus on is like the transition from Lil Wayne to Drake.
Yeah.
Right? The transition from Lil Wayne to Drake is like classic business 101. When Drake came out, Drake rhymed very similar to Lil Wayne. So when he put himself out there, you was like, oh, look, this little light-skinned dude rhymes just like Lil Wayne. He cold, right?
Yeah.
He cold. But what was the difference between Lil Wayne and Drake? You had Lil Wayne, who out here wilding down in New Orleans with his dreadlocks and everything else, you know, looking like a caricature at times. You know what I'm saying? He made himself. Tattoos all over his face, blah, blah, blah. Then you got this little clean-cut dude that could rhyme just like that, but then he could sing a little bit. Well, what happened with their audience? You go from hardcore, I want to hear somebody rhyme, spitters and all of that, to hear somebody who could rhyme and also pull the ladies.
Yeah.
So then when he started pulling the ladies, he swung the pendulum to pop. It became more hip hop. You dig what I'm saying? And man, look at his album sales. You ain't got to hear me say. Go look at the charts from the 2010s and on up to now and see who's selling more music.
Drake
it's with no shadow of a doubt, the person who made the most bread, he owned the charts. And you can't deny that. So it's like, what do you do to be successful in this game? He already showed you. You know what I mean? He showed you.
Speaking of albums, did you listen to Drake's latest album?
No, I haven't listened to it yet. I've been hearing mixed reviews about it, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, that album, it hit.
You like it?
Yeah, he dropped it on my B-Day too, so it was a good album.
Okay, good.
Have you been watching, going like to more of a sports side, have you been watching a Michael Jordan documentary?
Yep, I have. It's really good. You know, it brings back a lot of memories. You know, last night me and the wife were singing that. Sometimes I feel like he is me. You know,
Yeah.
we used to take our shots off of that. You know what I'm saying? Just like Kobe, Jordan. That was the only way we used to go. So it's funny it's funny watching it now, and then also seeing your generation get some perspective with him and LeBron. You know, because
Yeah.
that's the daily argument. That's the daily argument: who better, who colder, whatever, whatever. And so now you kind of get to the man behind the court. You get into his thought process a little bit, and you
Hmm.
see how he was dominating the game. Like y'all never really got a chance to see how this dude was dominating the game night after night, day after day, and seeing what he put into it. And it's almost kind of like, you know, getting into the hip hop discussion and the hip hop argument. It's like if you all go back and you go and listen to some of the cats that we tell you how to listen to, then when you hear somebody that you're hearing, you might be like, oh, wait a minute, this dude was way colder than him. You
Yeah, but
know, and that's kind of, yeah.
yeah, the difference I just think with that is like, all right, you can go back and you can listen to a music album or a regular song that they came out with at that time. The
Mm-hmm.
difference between basketball is you can't go on a regular Tuesday game and say, let me see Michael Jordan versus Phoenix, because that game is not there no more.
Yeah, it's true. But then also you also get a chance to see who was around him too,
Hmm.
right? So you start looking at the legends who was playing around him, and you know, like I thought it was pretty good looking at the struggle that they had against Detroit and how the rules changed.
Yeah.
And so you look and see how Michael Jordan and Pippen both, all of them was getting slammed and beat around by the Pistons a lot. And them cats was like, dang, it ain't never been a clause that said we had to get up in the gym and get swole like this. If you looked at them, they was string beans, right?
Yeah.
They
But
looked like
that year
little
they lost, they
string
got
beans.
in the gym.
They got in the gym because of Detroit. They
Yeah.
specifically got into the gym because of Detroit. Whereas if you're looking at it through this lens now, you might say, dang, you know, Jordan was swole. I got to get swole. Everybody got to get
Mhm.
swole in basketball. Now, there was a reason why they got swole. And then now you got LeBron, who looked like a beast, right? You know, using
Mhm.
that terminology, he looked like a beast. He swole as hell. But, man, I see somebody go like this past his head and he falling on the floor. He
Yeah.
laid out. He
Yeah.
bigger than Jordan. He out here crying like a baby, and he can't get touched. And they got rules where you can't, you know, you can't get hacked and all of this other stuff. And that whistle, it's a different game. It's a different game. So you can't compare. You know, the physicality of basketball is just not there no more. Like everybody used to didn't have to be a shooter, but now
Mhm.
everybody now you got like a 6'11" cat. I mean, like when we used to play on the court when I was younger, you know, and I was bigger than most of the cats.
Yeah.
Man, if I wanted to go and shoot, they'd be like, man, no, man, big man, get down low. That's where you go. Big man, stay down low. You don't shoot. You ain't the shooter. You rebound and throw that back up, lay it up, right? You know, that would
Mhm.
be it. But now you got LeBron standing back there popping, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's a different game. You had to know your role back then.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
I just think it'd be more of like the older generation. Like I'm glad they came out with it now because we didn't get a chance to see Mike, and they be like discrediting our Mike to y'all. Like our Mike to y'all is LeBron,
hmm
and they discredit LeBron so much. Like get us a chance to see Mike. To us, people make it
yeah,
seem like Mike didn't miss a shot.
yeah, and I mean, you know, and he didn't. But I'm just saying, you know, the thing is, the thing is like you right. It's like people can be a little bit more encouraging, and that goes across the board with everything, right? You
Mhm.
know, because you know the old people are always gonna be like, well, back when I was, you know, we used to hear it all the time. And see, the funny piece is that again in our era, I'm gonna tell you about the hip hop. I got to put it right back in the hip hop perspective. Everything that we were sampling was old music. It was our father's music. That's what we were sampling all the time. The jazz, the funk, everything. It was old music. And so we knew almost as much, maybe even more, than our parents did about their own music because we was
Mm-hmm.
listening to it. But it's like a lot of folks you could tell, like, see, I could tell Joey Badass, I could tell Kendrick Lamar, they study. You could tell the ones who study because they have perfected and extended the craft. But then you got cats who, ain't doing this. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? This, chicken, chicken, what? It's like, man, what are you talking about, man? I feel it. It's good party music. So y'all got the African chants. Like if I told you it was, you know what I'm saying? If I
Mm-hmm.
told you, that y'all got the African chants, well, be like, man, we ain't no African. No, you got the African chants down because that's what y'all making. Y'all making tribal music right now, which is a good thing. I mean, it gets you what? Amp. It gets you ready for war. It gets you ready for fighting. It gets you ready for sex even, right? It
Mm-hmm.
pump you up. But where's my griot at? I see my warriors, right? Y'all ready. Y'all ready to fight. I see that. But where is y'all chief at? Where's y'all priest at? Where's y'all griot that's telling the story? And how do you tell the stories of the history? How are you able to tell that story?
And I think that's
How are
what's
you
so
able to tell
good.
that story?
I think that's so good about our generation is that we have some people that we can just go listen to is when we want to just be teed up, and then when we want to
Mm-hmm.
hear our side of the story, we say, "I can go play another person." I mean, it's good for two of those to come together and that just
It
that.
is.
But
It
some
is.
people can't make their transition to the way over, and that's when we look at you like you falling off. Like Herb is one of the most artists that can do both. Herb can
Yep.
play club music and he got music to make you think about where you came from and where you can be at now. I
That's
think that's
right.
so what's good about our generation now.
And that's what I'm saying is that you can plug him, right? Just like you could plug Lil Bibby. Lil Bibby. I know you watch Sway in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I would listen to them every time they would have that little dude on that show, and they'd be like, "Nah, man, we gonna make sure you get that GED." Because they heard something in them, right? They heard something in them, and they was like, "Nah, man, we gonna keep pushing. We gonna keep pushing. We gonna keep pushing you." Then next thing you know, him and his brother got their own label.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they put my man out. What was his name?
Juice WRLD?
Juice World. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm looking at Mike P and looking at them in Australia with tens of thousands of people in front of them. And that's my only piece is that you always got to have mentorship. You got to not be afraid of that. And I mean, we ain't, trust me and believe me, I can't tell you how to necessarily navigate your immediate surrounding, right? I can't tell
Mm-hmm.
you that because I don't know it, right? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But what I can do is give you an overview of what navigation looks like when you facing this or when you facing that. And then if you're listening, you could take that and apply it to your world. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Mm-hmm.
again, you just made perfect sense. You heard us tell y'all, nah, bust LeBron, he ain't Jordan. Bust LeBron, he ain't Jordan. But you said it. We had never seen him play. We didn't know. So to us, it just sounds like y'all dissing us or y'all dissing our stuff. Everybody disrespecting the young people. We was young too. You know what my father used to call house music back in the day?
Right.
He used to call it one beat music. Because all he heard was boom, 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 boom. That's all he would hear coming from our walls. But, I used to get mad because it's like, what are you talking about? This ain't no one beat music. This is everything. This is my entire life. And the point was is that all he heard was the bass cranked up. And
Mm-hmm.
I get it now because I can't listen to just the bass. I need to hear the full instrumentation of the song. And just as well as I know, one of the reasons why Kendrick albums go so hard is because that music on that album is remarkable, right?
Yeah.
The reason why y'all like Kanye album so much is, I mean, he not the greatest rapper in the world,
Mm-mm.
but his music, no music. All I'm hearing is beat.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, who album is gonna sell more? The one that's going boom, 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 or the one Drake album? Which one gonna sell?
Drake.
Drake gonna sell. So I mean, if you in it for the business, then go and make a Drake album.
Yeah, you Drake. They say I was reading this little thing the other day. They said Drake got the stimulus pack.
Okay.
You throw Drake on the
Okay.
album, it's gonna sell.
Hey, I mean that's what it is. It's the formula. That's what see, and you know I always talk about Dr. Dre's Chronic album with Snoop and everything because he literally had the formula, and they used to talk about it all the time back in the day. And the formula was you had to have somebody who could really spit, right? You had to have a catchy tune, and everything that Drake did, all it was Parliament and Funkadelic funk beats, which we had grew up listening to anyway, so we already was familiar with that sound, right? And then he put sex and drugs on it. That's gonna sell to a teenager of all nationalities and races. All nationalities, races, and all of that. Every teenager gonna eat it up, and so that became his formula, and he got big dollars from it, you know. And the white folks loved it because it was kind of perpetuating that gangsterism, which was going counter to Cosby Show, Different World. Like, you know, when I was around your age, everybody, I don't care if you was in school or not, you had on black college sweatshirts. You see what I'm saying? You would have HBCU, you had Morehouse on your chest. All our movies, School Days, and everything else, which they wanted to do because that was the cool thing to do. Then all of a sudden you get the Chronic album. It's like, nah, man, I want to do that. You know, that looked more fun. And, you know, that kind of wiped the whole New York hip hop. It flipped it on its head. That's why they was beefing. Because it was like, nah, we doper than y'all. Nah, we sell more records than y'all. Nah, y'all ain't dope. Now we win. Now we run it. LA run it. New York don't run nothing. LA run it. And then next thing you know, Puffy came and he started playing tunes that we were familiar with already when we was young. He got a dope MC, Biggie Smalls is the illest. And then he ended up, instead of the gangsters looking like, you know, flannel shirts and khakis and all of that kind of stuff, his gangsters had on suits. And they looked like mob bosses. And they started calling themselves mafioso with champagne and ladies in dresses and whatnot. So who you think won that game?
Yeah, they won it, but I ain't sure who music was better. You know, I like the other side music.
You like that? You like the Chronic one?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it was a good battle. I mean, and see, that was what we call balance. You always gotta have balance in the force. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have balance in the force.
Yeah, so but that was a good show today out here with you. Those I don't have any more topics for you.
All right, we exhausted it. Well, invite me back anytime. When you feel like something needs to be talked about, I'll talk.
All right, thank you.
All right, love, Marvin.
I love you too.
Peace.
Peace.